It's definitely time for a new economic model. I'm interested in exploring radical economic solutions, and I'll definitely be making more videos about this. However, there used to be an orthodox economic model that's no longer orthodox, but should be. This is the economic model of John Maynard Keynes. Neoliberal economics continues to reject Keynesian ideas about the best way to run the economy. However, decades of neoliberal policy have failed. It's time to return to more Keynesian-style solutions. John Maynard Keynes was a British economist whose groundbreaking theories fundamentally changed economic thought and policy. Keynes' most influential work, The General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money, challenged classical economics by advocating for government intervention to manage economic cycles. Keynes believed that the state had to be more involved in the economy because he saw inherent instabilities and inefficiencies in free markets that could lead to prolonged periods of economic stagnation. He argued that during economic downturns, private sector demand often falls short, leading to a vicious cycle of reduced spending, lower production, and even rising unemployment. Keynes argued that in such situations, government intervention was necessary to boost aggregate demand through public spending, investment, and monetary policies. By doing so, the state could help stabilise the economy, prevent deep recessions, and promote sustained growth. Now, Keynes believed that the private sector could not achieve this on its own. Neoliberal economics discredits John Maynard Keynes by emphasising market efficiency, deregulation, and minimal government intervention. Neoliberals argue that Keynesian policies of active government spending and intervention distort markets, leading to inefficiencies and long-term fiscal imbalances. They advocate for supply-side measures such as tax cuts and deregulation to spur economic growth, suggesting that free markets are better equipped to allocate resources and self-correct economic downturns without government interference. This shift has positioned neoliberalism as the dominant economic ideology, dramatically reducing the influence of Keynesian economics in contemporary policy making. I studied economics in the 1980s, and by this time neoliberalism was the dominant foundation of orthodox economics. This was the height of Thatcherism and a new economic order. Unwavering faith in the market, deregulation, privatisation, reduced welfare provision, government cuts in the name of balancing the books and reducing taxes. These became the characteristics of the new economic policy. Also, an understanding that the government could not micromanage the economy through fiscal policy, that the focus should only be on controlling inflation through monetary policy rather than fiscal stimulus. Prior to this, there had been a broad consensus in the post-war period that the government played an active role in boosting the economy when necessary through government spending. This view became discredited during the 1970s, particularly because of stagflation, high inflation and high unemployment. Even now, if you try and talk about Keynesian-style intervention, people will say, we don't want to go back to the 1970s. However, the neoliberal idea that a free market, low regulation economy will provide the best outcomes is totally discredited from experience. The UK has had years of flat growth, low productivity, failing public services, crumbling infrastructure. Flagship privatisations have proven to be complete failures. Railways, electricity, gas, water. The whole project has completely let the country down. There's been a massive increase in poverty and inequality. But the success of the project is that the rich got richer. And this is the key point, of course. Neoliberal economics is good for the rich. So the rich, big business, and the right-wing media all keep the myth going that there is no alternative to neoliberal economics. Even the new Labour government is very much based around the neoliberal orthodoxy, where financial prudence is the priority, where there's an unshakable trust that the market can solve the country's problems. I think it's time to fully resurrect Keynes, to switch back to a Keynesian approach to economic policy, more active government intervention in the economy to restore critical infrastructure, stimulate demand and promote growth. This could involve public investment in healthcare, education, transport, utilities, research, the green economy and social welfare programs. A programme of investment along these lines would provide a major boost to productivity and long-term economic health. The market is sick and it cannot cure itself. For me, this is an absolute no-brainer. I don't think that the 1970s proves that Keynesian economics have failed. This is just a convenient myth. What isn't a myth is that the 2008 financial crash showed that neoliberal economics has failed, that capitalism has failed without massive government intervention. So I believe that Keynesian economics wouldn't mean a return to the 1970s, but there would be challenges, and I can highlight two of these challenges here. First, there is a risk that expansionary policy of the type I'm advocating could be inflationary. Thus, it's critical that all of this government investment is increasing the productive potential of the economy. Inflation occurs when too much money chases too few goods, when there's no spare capacity in the economy. We need to invest in increasing the productivity of the economy. Even if there is a bit of short-term inflation, it could be worth it. The current massive poverty and inequality is just unacceptable. Low inflation policy basically only helps the rich. Productivity is often talked about in terms of labour producing more. For example, pay deals are often conditional on worsening working conditions in order to improve productivity. Ironically, paying people more will make them more productive. Here's a simple example. If we were to give doctors and nurses a massive pay increase, this would attract the best staff back into the NHS, and it would improve the morale of existing staff. It would dramatically help in clearing NHS waiting lists, and it would mean that people whose productivity is affected by being sick would be able to be fully productive again. And this would provide a massive boost to productivity and the economy. But the market will not do this. This takes a bold move on the part of the government. The second challenge to reviving Keynesian-style economic policies is that the neoliberal economic establishment would fight back. They would tell us that these are old-fashioned ideas, that we would return to the 1970s. But the key facts are that neoliberal economics is not working. The UK economy is sluggish. It's choked by neoliberal policies. It's held back by lack of investment and failing infrastructure. We need to challenge the lies that the vested corporate and wealthy interests are peddling. In conclusion, I think it's imperative to be honest and recognise the failures of the neoliberal experiment that has dominated for decades. The promises of market efficiency and prosperity have just been hollow. The legacy is flat growth, low productivity and crumbling public services. It's time to re-evaluate our approach and consider a return to Keynesian principles, more active government intervention to stimulate demand, investment and drive growth. Investment in infrastructure, education, healthcare and social welfare would revitalise the economy, enhance productivity and address the unacceptable levels of poverty and inequality that neoliberalism has exacerbated. The market cannot heal itself. A proactive and strategic governmental role is essential for a healthier, more equitable economic future. I hope you found this information useful. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. I'd really appreciate that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.